Hey everybody, this is Artificial Sweetener, and today I wanted to share with you something that I've been working on for quite some time. This is SugarSubstitute, a desktop native front end for ComfyUI. SugarSubstitute is designed to help you focus more on generating images and less about managing noodles and nodes. The reason I built SugarSubstitute, the main motivating factor, is really like this. I think about my Comfy workflows in segments, each one doing something specific to the image that I'm working on. So I might have my text to image segment, and then my diffusion upscale or high res fix segment, and on, like detailers or control net. Often, I have this idea that I need to rearrange the way that these things work to get the image the way that I want it. But in order to do that in the graph, I either need to deal with tediously rewiring nodes, or I have to build a large, sprawling, branching graph with very specific pathways that I can turn on and off, and you end up with all of this repeated work, and if you change one segment, you have to end up changing every single one. It's a lot of work to keep up with. And I understand that ComfyUI has made a lot of very big improvements to this experience. They built subnode graphs, which address a lot of the specific pain points that I've talked about, but it doesn't get rid of all of them. And it also doesn't provide a desktop native experience like I'm trying to give you with this. But let me show you how it works. So we'll start by loading in just one cube. We do that by clicking the plus symbol in the cube stack. Now, for my example, I'm going to use Stable Diffusion XL, and I want to start with a text to image cube. Now, cubes are designed mostly to be rearrangeable however you want. There are only a few cubes where they have to be at the start, and text to image is a good example, because text to image doesn't take any input that it doesn't already provide for itself, whereas diffusion upscale or a detailer needs an image to come from somewhere else in order to do more work on it. All right, so you can already kind of see that this is basically a Comfy workflow, just represented in a different way. You can see the checkpoint loader here. Mahira CFG is here, and we can turn it off or on. And we also have a case sampler with some of our familiar settings here. We're going to leave those at default because they're already at my preferred values for working with Stable Diffusion XL, specifically with Illustrious, which is what I'm going to pick. So we're actually going to pick Amanatsu for this, and I have it loaded here. And you can see that our checkpoint picker is very pretty. It has thumbnails that we pull from Civit AI, and in fact, there's lots of metadata like the title and the version that we also pull from Civit AI too. However, some of the organization is just being pulled straight in from my models folder, so if you keep your models folder nice and pristine, where models are organized very specifically, SugarSubstitute's going to be able to take advantage of that, and you're going to see returns on that organization. We'll click that, and now I'm always going to know when Amanatsu is loaded because I can see that it has its little thumbnail there. Isn't that nice? Okay, so when I'm first starting to work with a model, I always like to double check to make sure that there isn't any sort of positive prompt that I need to work with, and I want to know, what are the recommended negative prompts. So this is one of the places where SugarSubstitute really tries to save you time by making that research step easy. If I right-click the little checkpoint thing and then go to Civit AI page, it'll load into my preferred browser, and we're already at the page, or even at the version that I have installed. I'll check the first example, and I can see that the author of Amanatsu does not recommend any sort of positive prefix, and the negative prefix that they're recommending seems to be just worse quality, bad quality. So we'll pull that in and we'll take their word for it. No positive prefix today. So I'll paste that in, and let's say that I didn't ever want to have to remember that again, and I wanted to just have that at my fingertips. I can highlight the prompt, right-click it, and I can save the segment. We'll put Amanatsu negative prefix, and we're going to save it specifically under Amanatsu. We click save. Now, anytime I have this checkpoint loaded and I right-click one of my prompt boxes, it'll be one of the prompt segments that I can insert. All right, so let's build a positive prompt. We'll do a one-grow prompt. What you'll notice as I'm typing is that it has autocomplete. So this is pulling from a Danburu dump of all of the tags that they use. And if you aren't familiar, a lot of these anime-style checkpoints are trained on Danburu dumps, and they're trained using the Danburu tags as captions. So using Danburu tags in your prompts for anime-style checkpoints is really preferred instead of natural language. Some of them, they'll tolerate natural language or would do well with it, but Danburu tags are a great thing to get to be familiar with if you want to do anime-style checkpoints. So, she'll have red hair, and let's see, I want her to be smug. I want her to have narrowed eyes, just to really hit home with the smug expression. Actually, since we're doing a smug expression, there's also this tag that I like. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. But if you're ever curious about what a tag that you've stumbled upon with autocomplete is, if you double click and then right click the prompt, you can look up the tag directly in the Danburu wiki, right inside of Substitute. And we can see that this word is a facial expression conveying a self-satisfied, cocky, or smug attitude. Great, that's perfect for my character. In fact, it's so perfect that I think that I want to move it up in the prompt. Now, of course, I could highlight this, copy it, and then paste it up there, but that's kind of tedious, right? And Substitute is all about saving you time and making things easy. So if I hold Alt, you can see that all of my prompt segments have become these little chips. And if I grab one, I can drag it up towards the top. And when I release Alt, now this word is towards the top of my prompt. Any prompt box can do this, and lots more. In fact, we have keyword shortcuts for it. It goes on. And in fact, we have keyboard shortcuts for emphasis. And if I want to adjust emphasis that already exists, I can do that with the mouse. All right, so let's see our smug girl show up, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the canvas. So hopefully this goes pretty fast, because I do have a pretty good graphics card. There she is. Her black dress, her smug attitude, it's all coming together. So one of the things that was really important for me to get right in SugarSubstitute was the image canvas. Inspecting your outputs inside of the browser is actually kind of a pain in the butt. You can open an image in a new tab, but browsers usually give you two options: either fit to the screen or 100% zoom, meaning 1 pixel to 1 image pixel. So your monitor and the image agree on what the side of the pixel is. I digress. So I can get to that 1-to-1 zoom just by double clicking the image. So that's nice and fast. And I can get back to fit just by double clicking again. Very fast. But of course, I can do arbitrary zoom, whatever I want. I can go all the way in and see those nice crisp pixels. No filters here. And if I'm zooming out, we actually snapped 100%. And again, we'll snap to the fit here. Okay, so that's pretty nice. One more other thing about the canvas. I can right-click the canvas, and you can see I can copy this image, and in fact, I can drag it out of the canvas if I want into Discord to share it with my friends, or to a special folder to save it. Of course, these all get saved anyway to your chosen output folder. I can open in Photoshop if I want. We'll talk more about Open All in Photoshop a little bit later. Or I can reveal it in File Manager, and that should work across different operating systems. But this is what I wanted to talk about, the undock canvas. So if I click here, now all of a sudden I have 2 windows instead of 1. So we'll make that a little bit smaller, and we'll make this bigger. So this might not seem like much on its own, but I know that some of you that have multiple monitors, a light bulb just went off in your head. You're thinking, can I move this canvas onto my other monitor so that I can always see my images nice and big and clear? And the answer is yes, of course you can. But now if you have something like a tablet set up and you're wondering, can I move the canvas onto my tablet to maybe paint masks more easily with my stylus? The answer is also yes, you can do that. You can put this on whatever screen your computer's connected to, and then you can make the most use of your real estate so that the controls are where you want them to be and the canvas is where you want them to be. So this is a pretty nice image, but it's also pretty low resolution, right? So we need high res fix. That's what people who use web UI usually call it, or diffusion upscale is kind of the more maybe like technical term for it. So we're gonna look for SDXL cubes again, and here's my diffusion upscale cube, and drag it on. Now I'll have a 2-cube workflow, and you can see we still remember the cube stuff that's going up here. All of our settings stay the same, but now we have this new diffusion upscale cube. Few things I want to point out about having multiple cubes. First thing, you'll notice that this positive negative prompt default to this little link emoji, SDXL text to image. What does that mean? It means that whatever I type here may as well also be typed in this positive prompt, and the same for the negative prompt. They are linked. That's why it's the link emoji, right? Now, you don't have to do that. I do independent. If I want to write my own prompt for the upscale step, I can do that. I know some people like to get really specific with it. They like to pare their prompts down, or in the case of detailing cubes, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you might want a specific detailer for just the face, in which case you describe just the eyes, the hair, whatever, right? But for high-res fix, a lot of the time, same prompt is fine, right? One other thing about linking and reusing connections. Just like how I can link them down here, very similar, I also have this override toolbar, which you've probably been seeing this whole time. We have the sampler, the scheduler. I won't get into what encode style is, and also the seed. And these are normally things mostly that show up on the K-sampler. So you can see that my K-sampler nodes here actually don't have those options because they're up here. Now let's say that I wanted separate ones per each of them. I could uncheck sampler, and now all of a sudden the sampler shows up down here and also here. And I can set it to whatever I want per each of them, so they each have their own unique setting. But most people don't want that. They want the same sampler between their text image and the diffusion upscale step, right? So in Comfy, that's actually kind of annoying or difficult to do. A lot of people just manually go through all of our K-samplers and change them all once. Here, you don't have to do that. Just like how you don't have to manually connect a noodle between your prompt and each K-sampler that you want to consume that prompt. That's what SugarSubstitute is all about. It's about saving you time. It's about getting rid of those little steps that, that just make dealing with the Comfy graph tedious. Okay, so let's see what diffusion upscale looks like. We'll click generate again. And just take a couple seconds. Oh, here we go. Very cute. All right, so let's look at just the canvas. And you can see that we now have 2 tabs here. We have text to image and diffusion upscale. So this is definitely looking a lot better. It's higher resolution. You can see that you can see more of like the sketchiness in the lines because there's more detail coming through. And if I want to compare between the different results, very easy to do that. I just switch between the tabs. But let's say I want to see them side by side. There's also a split view. And I can compare between any output from any cube like this. So this kind of thing is really important for kind of getting an idea of what each step in your workflow is doing. You can get a better sense for what each step is doing to impact the quality of your image. Okay, so let's say I like the way this is going and I want to generate a new image. let's say that you have a lot of things going on and you like to run like a batch of images in the background, just kind of watch them go while you're doing other things. In the past, that's kind of annoying to do with Comfy or automatic. You can do it, but you're probably switching back to the other tab. With this though, I can reveal the generation tools here. They work just the same as on the main window, and I can queue up another prompt, and you can see you can get the progress bar here. Very simple to do. And here we've got a red-haired girl in her black dress once again, looking very pleased with herself. All right. So hopefully you get the idea of what's going on with the canvas. I just wanted to show you one more thing, kind of what a more complicated workflow looks like. So here's an image that I was working on a little bit ago, and I'm dragging this in from a folder. So just like how Automatic, WebUI, and Comfy, they have this metadata attached to every image you generate so that you can easily get back to what you were working on. We have the same idea in SugarSubstitute. And of course, this is all ComfyUI, so every image that you generate also comes with a graph attached if you want. So you could load any of these images into ComfyUI directly. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But I wanted to tell you a little bit more about how workflows get loaded in into Substitute, because you can see that I have tabs already here, even though I only loaded in one image. And that's because Substitute is smart enough to look at your output folder and reconstruct what the workflow looked like when you generated this image. So you don't just have to go back to one image. You can load the whole workflow, the whole output arrangement, and compare it again and see, you know, what did each output look like? Did I want to change something about my face detailer prompt or whatever? The workflow gets completely reconstructed for you. Okay, so while we're talking about more complicated workflows, I wanted to point out that we can have multiple detailers. These are technically the same cube, so if I hover over it, it should. Yeah, so this is the Automask detailer cube. This is very similar to a detailer if you're used to WebUI, or a detailer node from Impact Pack, whatever. And they are the same cube, but named different things because I have different settings in each of them. And so that helps me keep track of, you know, where I have a certain prompt, which Ultralytics model I have set up. And let's say I want to rearrange them, that's really easy. Or I could even have diffusion upscale happen at the very end if I wanted to. I would recommend doing it that way, but you could. That's the power of working with cubes, is that it's very easy to rearrange however you want. And that, I think, gets especially time-saving when you start getting into layering on detailers and you want to make sure that everything is happening in the best order to get the best results out of your image. Let me show you what all this looks like on the Comfy graph just a little bit. Going back to the browser, and I already have it opened up. This is the same exact workflow we were just looking at, and you can see there's quite a bit wired in here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes. Each of these little groups is a cube. And this is kind of what it looks like on the inside in Comfy. You can see that I've got my positive and negative prompt, just like I had inside of Substitute. And each cube is denoted by having one of these little markers here. So you're looking at this, and hopefully you're beginning to understand that even though I'm only shipping with Stable Diffusion XL and Animus support in my cubes, it is very, very simple for anybody to build a new cube that supports a new set of models. So you could build a Flex cube, you could build a Crea 2 cube, whatever you want to do. All you have to do is arrange some nodes together and then add an image output or input cube. They look like this. And as long as there are nodes connected in series between these two, it automatically detects what the value is. And then you name it, you click create cube, and you're off to the races. It should show up in SugarSubstitute, it should be automatically detected, and then you can start generating with Crea or Flux or whatever you want. So that's a pretty good opportunity to talk about some of the things that are not directly supported right now. Just sort of ran in my parade just a little bit. So right now, Substitute only supports images. The cube system is designed to support any kind of output, so it should be able to support video, it should be able to support audio, it should be able to support 3D models, but SugarSubstitute itself only has a canvas for images right now. I would really like to start supporting video really quickly. I already have an idea of how I'm going to do it, and the path to getting there is pretty straightforward. But 3D models will have to come a little bit later. Audio, I'm not sure about. It's more about getting to look right inside of the app than it is about whether or not it can be supported. But I do want to support anything that Comfy supports an output inside of Substitute so that you can bring the workflows that you love into this easier to use interface. So the other thing that we don't support yet, and this is more getting into the kinds of cubes that you can make, we do support in painting, but we don't support doing masks where there isn't an underlying image. So you might not even understand where that might become a problem. But if you have ever done regional prompting, the reality is that those use masks on a blank canvas to section off the image into the regions that you're prompting. So I really do want to support that, and it's relatively straightforward for me to do. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And the other thing that I'm not sure about, I haven't tested it, is ControlNet. So I just don't use ControlNet that much in my own creative process, but I do know it's really popular. I know that a lot of models, like, people sort of swear by it, and I understand all of that, and I want to support it. It's just getting around to making sure that the experience is good. I have no doubt that you could make a ControlNet cube. I just don't know how well it would work with the canvas system right now, because the canvas is sort of relational to the way that masks relate to input images, and I need to add more logic for it to understand, this is a ControlNet input and how to deal with that. It's not impossible. These are all things that I really want to do. I just want to be upfront that we're a little rough around the edges. There are some things that you might be doing with ComfyUI that you can't do in Substitute yet. That being said, I really am looking forward to people's feedback. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with it. I'm looking forward to the bugs that you'll find, because I'm sure that there are plenty. I've been bug testing it myself for, as I've been working on it, and my fiance is also bug testing it for me. But I'm really looking forward to getting the experience ironed out for people so that we can release into the full release. So that's really the announcement here. I've already put this up. You can install it. I know that Windows should work. I'm really looking forward to feedback about Mac OS and Linux, which should technically work, but I haven't tested it. So yeah, if this is all exciting to you and you want to make something with it, that's thrilling to hear, and hopefully I'll get your feedback around what you want to see and what problems there are. Okay, thanks for watching all of this. Bye.